my name is Karen Omai Braga, and I believe everyone has their own unique story. And mine involved me moving around the world. By the time I was 13, I had lived in 4 different countries: Brazil, China, Hong Kong, and the United States. It all started on December 8th, 1996, in Sao Paulo. My dad is Samuel Braga, and he is currently a pilot for Shenzhen Airlines. My mom is Miyako Omai, and she's a student here at CPC and Jean's assistant. I have 2 younger twin brothers, Danilo and Victor Braga, and they're both seniors at Redlands East Valley High School right now. So growing up in Brazil, I've always been kind of a tomboy, and even though I'm not anymore, I still hang out with a lot more guys than I do with girls. And this started when I was young because I would always hang out with my brothers and their friends more than I hang out with the girls where I lived. And there was this one time when all the boys were skateboarding, and I was one of the few girls, because we lived by a hill, and I was one of the few girls who would actually go down the hill standing up on the skateboard, or if there were cars parked down the hill, I'd lay down on my skateboard and go under the cars, which is something I would never do today, but I used to love doing it when I was younger. And then when I was 9, I moved to China because the company my dad worked for went bankrupt. So he found a job in China because they were hiring. And at first I was excited to move to China because my dad had left 3 months before we did. And so I missed him and I really wanted to see him and live with him again. So I was excited, but I was also sad that I was leaving my friends and family. The first year in China, I didn't like the school I went to because it was a Chinese school, and the days were way longer than it was in Brazil. We went from 6 o'clock in the morning until 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and I did not like the food there, so I would either not eat or I would actually have to hide to eat my food because everyone would ask for it, and me and my brothers weren't, we didn't speak any English or Chinese at all, so we had a hard time telling them no, really. And another thing that was way different was that teachers over there are still allowed to hit their students, and I was actually hit once, but for being where I wasn't supposed to be, but I never got hit enough to where I cried. And one time I was actually going by this classroom, and all the classrooms were glass windows, so I could see inside the classroom, and every single student in that classroom was crying because the teacher had hit everyone until they cried because they all failed the test, and it said on the board, so that's how I knew what happened. And then I was only at that school for a year, and then I moved to QSI, which was more of an American school. It had American textbooks, and there were no Chinese allowed to enroll there. So I also made a lot more friends there, and I could actually understand people, because a lot of the people who moved there were from Brazil as well, because the company my dad had worked for broke, so they all went to China. And because most of the Brazilians were around the same age, and we all lived in the same place, we would always go out and hang out at the end of the day or during the weekends, and we had periods of times where we would like to do a certain thing. And in the beginning, it was everyone would ride bikes, and then we all got rollerblades, and then we all got electric skateboards, and then we started playing cops and robbers. And because I was kind of still a tomboy, I used to not be afraid to hide inside of the bushes or go somewhere where I wasn't supposed to be. So everyone wanted me to be on their team for that. And there's this one guy who we were always on the same team. And one time I was a cop and he was a robber, and he went and he hid. And he saw me walking by because I was looking for the robbers. And he actually called me to go hide with him. And I went over there with him. And then I stood next to him and I'm like, wait, I'm a cop. So I tagged him and he had to go to jail. And at the time it was something that was really funny to us. And then we were all only there for about 2 years because the working condition for our parents weren't very good. So now I have friends actually in Dubai, China, Brazil, England, Qatar, and Canada because it was such an international community. And after China, I went to Hong Kong, and I was there for only 8 months, and I went to a school called Discovery Bay International School, which was more of a British system than American compared to QSI. So I had British textbooks, and most of my friends were British or at least half British. And the thing I liked the most about that school was that we had a lot of field trips, between 1 to 3 field trips per month. And my favorite one was a camping trip that we went on, and it was about 3 days. And we went kayaking, and we had treasure hunts, and we learned a lot of survival skills from there. And then after 8 months in Hong Kong, I moved to the United States. And at first I went to Cope Middle School, and because I would dress completely different, and my English still wasn't all that great. And when I would tell people that I was from Hong Kong, they would actually not believe me. So I had a few people that oh, where are you from? And I was like, oh, I actually lived in Hong Kong before here. And they would actually just walk away from me because, I don't know, they thought it was weird or something. And then, so I made friends, like, no, it took like a month or something to make friends, and I finally made friends. And then freshman year, I wasn't in the same classes as those people, so I had to make friends all over again. And ever since 8th grade, I guess, I've been having a different new group of best friends that I hang out with, but it's because, I guess, growing up and changing and trying to figure out who I am. And then right now, I'm here at CPC because I'm not sure what I want to do yet, so so I'm taking some classes and not sitting at home doing anything. But I want to do something along the lines of international business when I'm older, because I've had an experience of moving around and I can speak fluent Portuguese and English. So I want to do something with international and languages so I can use them. So moving around so much was hard at first, but I was so young, so it was pretty easy to adapt. And because I lived in such a diverse and international community, I have friends all over the world now. And I love traveling, so I plan to see them someday again, because I do keep in contact with a lot of them. And in the future, I want to do something with international business and traveling.